on the government level, it has to be at the EU level, it has to be at the business level and academia, that you really want and believe that you can make a difference.
Kasim?
I'd say two things. I would encourage Ekaterina and her colleagues to continue on the path of public-private partnerships, pick our brain, ask business how we can help them, and then I would make the plea again to Ekaterina and the EU to move with urgency, to recognize the roadblocks that our insurance companies face, our pension funds face, our banks face in being able to deploy long-term risk capital. If we can solve that, I think we will be in a much, much better place.
Commissioner.
Yeah, to be able to solve all of that, I think what we really need that I know that it may sound like cliché, but I really believe this is really everything, and this is like union. Because all the things that and obstacles that we have, it's really, again, I will repeat myself, it's linked to complete the single market. And I know it's easy to say, difficult to achieve, but I really believe that if we don't achieve it now in this geopolitical situation, we are never going to achieve it. So let's do it. We know what have to be done. We have a plan. We have a really good partners and working together with the private sector, but also with the governments. Let's act like one and do it.
Thank you. Let's do it. So thank you for all of you for being here, and I think we got a clearer picture on what the fund is about. Looking forward to keep the conversation and see what it will achieve in the next couple of years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be very frank. My first
Good morning and welcome everybody here in Kurpark Village in Davos, and a very warm welcome to all of you joining us online. My name is Sebastian Mattes. I'm the editor of Handelsblatt, Germany's business daily. Now, Europe is bursting with world-class ideas in research, in tech and entrepreneurship, yet too often those ideas stall before they scale, and promising companies are ending up to look for capital elsewhere. So this is exactly what we are going to talk about today. We are going to discuss the launch of the Scaleup Europe Fund, a new market-driven, privately managed growth and late-stage investment vehicle that brings together public and private capital from Europe. A quick note to our audience online. So if you want to join the discussion, please use the hashtag WEF26, WEF26. And a quick note for you here in the audience, we will have time for questions later, so get ready to join the conversation. And now I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished panelists. First of all, Ekaterina Sarajeva, European Commissioner for Startups, Research and Innovation, and having this idea for the new fund. Kazim Kutai, Chief Executive Officer of Novo Holdings from Denmark and one of the founding investors of the new fund. And Markus Wallenberg, who is the chair of several major Nordic investment industry institutions, including Wallenberg Investments AB and SEB, and also a founding investor in the new fund. Yeah. So welcome to all of you. Commissioner, let's start off with you. To those hearing about this fund the first time, what exactly is the Scaleup Europe Fund in plain terms, and how is it organized within the EU?
Good morning to everybody, and I'm really delighted to be in such company. And actually, I will start by expressing my gratitude first to Novo Nordisk, because Novo Holdings, sorry, that they were really the first who believed in this idea, and we worked together to convene others, investors, to join us in the goal that we have first to keep, as you said, the excellent talent and startups that we have in Europe, to help them to scale, to become global from Europe, and to show the other investors and the money that we have in Europe that actually this is a good business. And to invest in deep tech scale-ups is good business, is profitable. So that we believe that this fund will have effect much broader than the companies that we are going to invest, but also to motivate and create ecosystems and to motivate institutional investors and others to invest in our deep tech excellent companies. And of course, then Wallenberg joining us help us to convince others. So we already have actually commitment from 10 founder investors. We did manage to raise 2.5 billion, and the goal is to reach 5 billion fund. So 2 main objectives: keep the companies in Europe, help them to become global champions, and show that it's profitable and it's good business.
Can you talk a little bit about the timeline, especially on appointing the new investment manager that you are trying to do right now? When should we realistically expect the first investments to be made?
Hopefully by summer latest. We started to work on this fund 8 months ago. We were thinking, okay, we have created through Horizon Europe program, European Innovation Council Fund, the biggest deep tech VC in Europe, but it's for early stage. And we did supported so many excellent startups, in deep tech startups in Europe. And what we miss is, of course, a big growth fund. And I really believe that we have everything in Europe. We are a rich continent. We have the capital. We have the best talent in the world. Because I believe the fierce competition is not about the money, as some people think, and about how big you are, how many territory you have, and national resources. It's about how many talented people we can attract. So we have this here. We are the best educated continent in the world. And we are big market. We have 450 million people, wealthy people. So I was thinking, okay, we should stop complaining that somebody is missing, something is missing, and we should really look what we have and work together. I think this is key. So we started 8 months ago, thinking that it's good to create a really public-private fund, work together on market conditions. We have such a big expertise in the private sector. So we managed to raise this 2.5. We met actually in October all together, because of course we meet many times working together before that. We commit to the timetable. We, before the Christmas, actually announced the procedure to select the fund manager. Now we are in the procedure of selecting together the fund manager, hopefully to be selected until end of February. And then, of course, hopefully starting the investment. So it's quite tight.
And the investment will be made in summer, the first investments?
Time is of essence. We have to act fast.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we can expect first investments in summer?
By summer, I hope, in spring.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned 5 billion. Will the fund grow over the next years, or is that the main aim to reach 5 billion?
Yeah, hope it will grow. I mean,
because in global comparison,
20
that's
billion,
my question.
It's ambition, but now we start with 2.5.
Okay, because when you look at what Microsoft is investing only in 1 quarter, it's 35 billion, right? So Kazim Kutai, maybe start with you. What did you think when you heard about the initiative the first time, and why did you join?
Thank you, and it is a pleasure to be here, and I am very excited to be talking about this initiative. When I first heard about it, I was very encouraged, and we started focusing on trying to get this project off the ground with the EU, with other great investors that are represented today by Marcus, of course, but other investors, to try and get this off the ground as soon as possible. And the reason why it's particularly exciting for us, and I think resonates to us as Scandinavians in particular, and I can say this because I'm not Scandinavian, I'm British, but you know, the one thing that impresses me so much about Scandinavia is I don't think there's ever a meeting that you sit in where the word society and community doesn't come up, which means, you know, whatever we do, even if it's for financial return, and by the way, our financial returns are very strong, that there's always a sense of what does that mean for our societies, for our communities? How do we spread wealth? Very importantly, a real sense that we are of the societies that we operate in and very successful in. So it was really that context. I think it's very important to understand that cultural context, why we jumped onto this very quickly. The other reason that I felt very passionate about this is, and perhaps a bit cliche, and we're all talking about this today, but the world is in a very, very different place, and I'm convinced that if Europe can do the right thing, it has an incredibly important role to play in this brave new world that we are facing in terms of what Europe stands for. And I think the success of Europe at many levels, in my view, has never been important. So the idea that we can harness the incredible talent that Europe has, that Ekaterina mentioned, it just hasn't been harnessed in the right way. The capital is there. I mean, we're going to do a first close. This has moved so quickly. We're going to do a first close probably this spring at about 3 billion. And we haven't really started an aggressive fundraise. The talent is here. The startups are here. The universities are here. And to have a setup and a fund that looks to really harness and galvanize those ingredients and those capabilities to show what Europe can really do when it gets its act together, I think is really heartening, and I think is important, and I think we're going to need to do a lot more of it.
Can you talk a little bit about the ambition? We heard 5 billion, maybe 20 billion. Do we not have to talk about bigger amounts like 100, 200 billion to really close the gap?
Well, we have to talk about a lot of things. Number one, we do have to talk about a lot more capital, but I think this is a terrific start. And let's see how it goes.
Right.
But I don't view this as, you know, the final answer. I think in terms of public-private partnership, and this is a great example of public-private partnership, and we need more of it. But if we can make this work, I think it'll encourage more public-private partnership, but also will be a blueprint for how else we can deploy capital for the rest of Europe. But I do want, and perhaps we can come to it a little bit later, but Ekaterina talked a lot about, you know, stop the whining, look at all the great things that Europe can do. But I do think that Europe and the EU in particular, we do need to face the reality that there are still obstacles. And I think the EU has a very important role in dealing with some of these issues. Otherwise, I do fear that the long-term patient risk capital that exists in the US will never really take off in Europe. And I'm thinking about some of the regulations around our insurance companies. I'm talking about the lack of appetite of our banks to invest in a patient, long-term way, despite the fact that European banks have never had stronger balance sheets. I'm talking about very nascent markets like the securitization one that should have developed a lot more by now. So, Ekaterina, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I will challenge you. I think you're absolutely right about the positive things, but I would urge you to really focus on a lot of other things that need to get sorted out within the context of for financial strength, and I've just mentioned a few. And I think the EU needs to do a lot more, and it needs to do it very quickly.
We'll come to that in a minute. Markus Weinberg, you have no shortage of global option for investment. Why did you decide to become a funding investor, and what would success look like for you in returns?
I think that, let me start in another angle here, because I like to follow up on the discussion about Europe and the possibilities. I also work in the banking world. We've been trying to do a banking union and a capital markets union in Europe, and we have not succeeded, despite debates for 15 years plus. This is a significant part of the discussion for Europe in the future. But now there are a number of initiatives going on, so you have to really think about what are the options if you can't get this going right now. I think the Commission is thinking extremely constructively around things like the 28th regime, deepening the single market. And this on top addresses, I think, something that we have all, we should really basically be quite positive about. When we do the look at, and I'm also associated with EQT, and when we look at the geography of the startup situation in Europe, I mean, there are 100+ unicorns in the European space as it is today. So we have a tremendously good university system. So there is nothing wrong in the possibilities of talent, both on the university side or on the startup side. So what are we actually trying to do here? We're trying to see to that. I'm sure that we like for companies to stay in Europe, and I think that is extremely important. But the most important thing to me is that we need some sort of mechanism to really find an ecosystem to support these companies to grow, and not to immediately find their way outside. And there are many aspects of what we're trying to solve in Europe. One thing is, I think the United States primarily are better at being more forward-leaning in their mentality. But also here, I think there is a change that I see in Europe. I think this discussion that we're starting the Scaleup Fund also has shown that we are serious about getting European companies to grow. I think also geopolitical events lately has made people say that's, you know, we have to basically support a European structure to go on in this direction. You can talk about the returns. I would say that around 20%, something like that, is what people probably would expect to come in on here. I think will be probably a mix of views on what the return should be, depending if you come from the public side or from the private side. But I do think that it's extremely important that this basically will be a market-driven exercise, that we are finding a governance structure here that will support it, because that will also help us in what we just discussed, the possibility to drive more fund scale-up in the future. As you pointed out, this is a relatively modest ambition right now, but I think it's important for this team to really show, I mean the managing team to really show that they will have traction in building, you know, getting some critical industries.
And then 100 billion will be possible in a couple of years.
And then maybe, you know, if this is moving in the right direction, I think there is a possibility to continue the traction. But I think we have to get going first.
Right. Can you both share how much money did you put in the new fund?
Sure, I'm happy to. We have committed 500 million euros over you know, the 10-year life of the fund. So it's quite a substantial amount.
We have not decided yet exactly how much, but we will be not at that level, but still we think that the 5 billion is achievable. Yeah. But I think it's important both for you and for me that this market, that actually the governance system will be a really market-driven thing.
Absolutely.
That is,
Commissioner,
I would say it's important for me as well. I really believe in the market.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I believe in the market.
Can you talk a little bit about industries the new fund might focus in?
Yeah, allow me first to address some of the things that Kasim and Markus just said, and I absolutely aligned with what you said. It's, of course, we have obstacles, and but when I said in the beginning, stop complaining, I meant that, okay, we know the obstacles, we know our strengths and our weaknesses, and that's a good start. So, and we know how to actually address, and both of you said the panacea is a single market. Very often I receive a question because we did propose the first ever startup Scaleup strategy with 26 actions. Choose 3, Scaleup Euro Fund is announced there. And now we talk about Scaleup Euro Fund, and I think this is one of the most important initiatives that we are going as Commission to present in our mandate. But the truth is that I choose one, and this is completely a single market. So if I can choose even not 3, I choose 1. But we cannot wait. Of course, we have a lot of initiatives in progress. You mentioned a couple of them, actually. They are key. Institutional investors. We have some, we are looking, and we did propose, actually, amendment in our legislation to untap this potential. There are also some national obstacles. There are some member states who are really very restrictive. They don't allow no investments in risk capital, both of their insurance companies, but also pension funds. So we are working on that. We have very strict and very clear strategy on that, and the banking. So, but we cannot just wait, and that's why we are thinking, let's create something. Let's show, and I believe that we're going to motivate also the pension funds to invest in our VCs. Let's do together something. So you ask about, and now I hope that I'll be to go back on your question.
Focus on industries.
On industries. Deep tech, it will be a deep tech fund. I'm not going to surprise. Everybody now is talking about AI, including here in Davos. AI, quantum, biotech, so you know the things, that space. We are going to invest in dual-use technologies. I think it's very important to say this because I believe that we have a huge potential in Europe. And I believe that we should really start investing, including through the public funds, and be much more open to the dual-use investments in Europe. I'm working on that. We did propose for the next MFF to open the whole next horizon for dual-use technologies. Now it's discussions are ongoing in the Council. I believe it's missed opportunities we don't invest. So more or less, these are the, of course, the sectors.
Do you hope the EU will increase the amount of money that it puts in the fund in the next couple of years?
Look, I agree with Kasim and Markus. Let's start. And I think the fact that you're right, Kasim, we are close to 3 billion, actually.
Yes.
More than 2.5.
Right.
The fact that for less than 8 months, we managed to agree on the principles, on the structure of the fund, how it works, on the sectors that we're going to invest, on the goals of the fund, and to commit almost 3 billion. So fast, and less than a year, we will be able to invest. I think it's a really good start.
Yeah.
And
have you been surprised, Kasim, that the
as Kasim said, we even didn't start to make really aggressive fundraising. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Have you been surprised the EU can be so quick?
I have to say, I've been very pleasantly surprised. Now, in part, of course, it's within the context of a public-private partnership because, you know, as a private entity, just like the various companies that Marcus is associated with, we like to make decisions and move pretty quickly. But I have to say, hats off to Ekaterina for her passion and commitment in driving this. I did not think we would be talking today about a first close of about 3 billion this spring, this quickly. And again, it just shows what we in Europe can do if we focus on it and if we remove the bureaucratic and regulatory obstacles.
Can I just, I think that we should, you asked me before about return expectations. In my book, at this stage in time, I believe that if we're going to be able to attract more funds going forward, We shouldn't forget that, what is it, about 11 trillion euros are just in the bank accounts of Europe. So that is not really deployed, but into bank accounts. So if we're going to start attracting people into this, I think we need to add the dimension in terms of what we look upon as a success, that we are actually addressing some critical industries, that we actually can help some of the teams in these companies to grow. Because and that's why I think I come back to the manager question. It's so important, because that is going to be the success. We're not going to see any quantitative returns in 3 years. Probably not, because it's going to take time for these companies to grow. So therefore, we just have to have a set of parameters that we really feel are extremely important going forward here. If that can be shown, and that we actually show traction in helping these companies, helping some industries to grow, etc., that will be accounting for a lot to see if this has been a good initiative.
Now I would like to open up for Q&A. So if you have a question or a remark, there's the microphone. Yes, please.
Hello, good morning. I'm Bernard Liuto. I'm the managing partner of Balderton Capital, and we have submitted an application to you.
Okay.
I have a question for you all. You're putting this fund. The target is about 5 billion. You have decided, if I understand, to put it in the hands of one GP. And I'm just curious about this decision. Or first of all, is this a decision, or is this still a question mark? If you consider the ambition of the EU fund, not just this time around, but next time around, the next time around, like the next fund would be potentially bigger, and so on and so forth. Is there an option to actually spread it over maybe two, to see actually the performance of actually the GP, compare it, and spread the risk of the EU Scaleup fund, so that when you start moving up, then you have two potential or three potential. We're going in like anybody else with the concept that it's a GP, right? But I'm just trying to understand the rationale of your current decision.
Do you want to address that, Commissioner?
Yeah. Look, there were first, it's a good question, and thank you that you express interest. It's quite a big interest, and I agree with Markus. It is really key. This process, in my first, to be transparent, fair, and to choose the best that we have in Europe. It's key for the success of the fund. I absolutely agree. So I'm very grateful that we work very, very good with founding investors on that. There were discussions about that. I'll be very frank. My first opinion was like yours, that we have to have 2, 3 to compete. And at the end, during the discussions with the founding investors and also looking at the rules, we decided let's go on. Doesn't mean that they cannot make a consortium and work together of what we have. So we decided together. So now we go to one. When if grows and if reach 20 billion, then we will think for maybe more.
So Markus Wallenberg, you're deeply connected to the finance industry all over Europe. So how is the reaction to the new fund, and how big is the interest so far?
I think the basic reaction has been positive, but we should remember that, as Kasim was saying earlier, this is one of the first public-private partnerships in earnest that we're trying to do now in a very, very important field. So I think there are also people who are saying, okay, let's see what comes out of this. And that's up to the managers and us all to prove that we can actually make a difference here. I think that's going to be an important part.
Fully agree.
Kasim, let's, before we wrap up, just address one question. That is, Does Europe have, when it comes to emerging technologies, have a advantage, maybe a USP? Is there one field you would look at right now and one field that we should strengthen a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about USP, but what I would say is that at the basic research level and at the basic science level, we are on par with any other jurisdiction. I'm thinking obviously primarily US and Asia here. So we have that ingredient. You know, the question is, how do they scale? So, and I'm not talking about, we're not talking here about the initial angel money or Series A. It's really once you get into the growth phase and you need to scale aggressively, where you need a lot of capital, a lot more capital, you need a bigger risk appetite, you probably need a longer time horizon. And this is what this fund is going to address. But I think, you know, if you look at what we're doing in quantum and AI, you can say, you know, the US and China are ahead of us. But actually, I'm not sure on the quantum fund on the side, because Denmark, and I'm sorry, I can't speak for other jurisdictions, maybe others are doing the same, but what Denmark is doing and has been doing on the quantum fund for the last 4 years is truly, truly impressive. You know, it is, we are a meaningful quantum player. On the bioscience, life science side, which is very dear to my heart, we were as good, if not better, than anyone. The 3 largest drugs in the world today originated from Europe.
And the Nordics are really good to build these ecosystems. So what are the...
Well, let me get to this, because this is really important, and it just shows the power of when you do things in the right way. Europe, and I'm talking purely life sciences here, okay, biopharma. Europe, basic research and research publications is on par with the US. Where we fall off the cliff is translating that into companies. The only country in Europe that has closed the gap with Boston, Massachusetts, where you have the greatest biotech startups, is Denmark. And it's for one reason only. It's because of a spin-off from the Novo Nordisk Foundation 8 years ago called the Bioinnovation Institute, and has provided funding, mentoring, and lab and office space to startups, and has encouraged academics to become entrepreneurs. And we are now producing per capita companies at the same level as the US. So it is absolutely doable. We are, of course, not on par in everything. AI is being dominated by the US and China. Quantum, I think we will do well. Biotech, life science, absolutely as good as, if not better than anyone else. Planetary health, let's not forget planetary health. Decarbonization, green tech. I think Europe is as good as anywhere else. So there will be no shortage of companies to support. Okay. And the wonderful thing is, if we support them with that sort of long-term capital, they can stay here, they can grow here, and benefit the continent overall.
To make that happen, very short, we have to wrap up in one sentence. So what really has to change in the European mindset to achieve that goal? This question goes to all of you. Markus Wallenberg, you go first, please.
I think it belongs very much in the camp of mentality, that we believe we can do it. And now there has to be determination, and it has to be on all fronts. And what I mean all fronts, it has to be on the government level, it has to be at the EU level, it has to be at the business level and academia, that you really want and believe that you can make a difference.
Kazim?
I'd say 2 things. I would encourage Ekaterina and her colleagues to continue on the path of public-private partnerships, pick our brain, ask business how we can help them, and then I would make the plea again to Ekaterina and the EU to move with urgency, to recognize the roadblocks that our insurance companies face, our pension funds face, our banks face in being able to deploy long-term risk capital. If we can solve that, I think we will be in a much, much better place.
Commissioner.
Yeah, to be able to solve that, I think what we really need that I know that may sound like cliché, but I really believe this is really everything, and this is like union. Because all the things that and obstacles that we have, it's really, again, I will repeat myself, it's linked to complete the single market. And I know it's easy to say, difficult to achieve, but I really believe that if we don't achieve it now in this geopolitical situation, we are never going to achieve it. So let's do it. We know what have to be done. We have a plan. We have really good partners and working together with the private sector, but also with the governments. Let's act like one and do it.
Thank you. Let's do it. So thank you for all of you for being here, and I think we got a clearer picture on what the fund is about. Looking forward to keep the conversation and see what it will achieve in the next couple of years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.